we are going to dive into recruiting therapy. Super excited for this session. We are announcing this as kind of a brand new experience, right? Designed for all recruiters and talent acquisition professionals to, really celebrate and empower you all professionally and personally through, not only experiences like Outbound Recruit Con and Outbound Academy, but also recruiting therapy, which, this is our first session of recruiting therapy. So super excited to have you both here. Steve, again, I love your background. It's epic. And I will let you both take it away. And Shannon, if you want to kick us off, and we'll get right into it.
Well, welcome everyone. So if you weren't there for my first session, on the first day, I am Shannon Pritchett. I'm the head of marketing. I was supposed to have matching backgrounds with Steve, but somebody from the marketing department blocked my ability to upload backgrounds on my Zoom. So, hence, I know, I'll get to the bottom of it, but I don't have time for that, Steve. It's not about us. It's not
about us.
No.
It's about our audience. It's about members of RecruitCon.
Exactly. Well, it is about
and everybody.
I'd like you to introduce yourself.
Fine. My name is Steve Levy. I am a 38-year veteran of talent acquisition. As you can tell, I'm wearing my HR uniform today. I was also an engineer for 15 years, going back to the time when it wasn't called AI back in the mid-80s. They were called expert systems, and I was building them. So I've been involved in this swirly, gnarly, unusual AI stuff for 40 years.
My inner psychologist thinks that this is why recruiters don't trust AI modeling. They were built by Steve.
No, they weren't built by me. I mean, I think the general problem with AI is that if there's just the name artificial intelligence, to me, implies artificial stupidity or real stupidity or something of that sort. I've as an engineer, I've been through many paradigm shifts. My first language was Fortran. When I graduated in 1980 as an engineer, we were given, I'm not kidding, plastic pocket protectors and Pentel pencils. And the goal was to find the thinnest, hardest lead for the pencil. I know there's a Freudian thing in that somewhere. But later on, I got involved in when PCs were first introduced. Everything was going to change. These things were 42 pounds. If you go to the gym and put a plate on a bar, that's how much these weighed. I was there when Al Gore invented the internet.
Maybe this is Steve's therapy session.
No, but all these things change.
There's a lot of change happening right now, Steve. Actually, I that is a good question for you. How are your feelings right now with so much change and evolution? And, this is supposed to be a, ask me anything, session. We're here to help. But, Steve, kick us off with how do you feel about all these changes that we're experiencing?
Well, at a conference a few years back, you may remember I did a keynote called The Courageous Sourcer. And personally, I think it was probably the best thing I've ever done in 20 years of speaking. But and maybe we'll make it available for everyone here with some minor changes to the deck. But I talked about, in order to be a courageous sourcer or a courageous recruiter, you have to be able to confront your fears. And these are, I'm not going to perfume a pig, these are real fearful times. Mm-hmm. From beginning of Q1 last year till now, we've seen so many of our friends fired from their jobs through no fault of their own. Mm-hmm. And yet the people who created the strategies, who implement the strategies that require the hiring of all these recruiters, all this investment in TA technology, they're pretty much still there. They were not let go. There's a lot of anger in our profession. And there's a lot of fear. There's not a day that doesn't go by where I don't read one of our friends or people that we know through someone else saying, I'm getting tapped out. I'm using up all my savings. I don't know what to do. What else can I do?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there's a lot that we can do to help them.
Yeah. And Steve, as you're sharing all that, I think something that comes to mind, and Shannon, I would love to get your feedback on this, is what advice would you have, right, for navigating like those peaks and valleys, these waves that we're kind of swimming through within, your career and just even personally, like moving through these challenges?
I applaud you for your pun, Amy. This is the third recession I've been through. I was a recruiter in 2000, 7, 8, 9. I was living in Nashville, Tennessee, and I just bought my very first house, making a salary of $45,000 annually, and it's, I think people don't realize, first off, that wasn't that long ago. Second, we jumped from $45,000, which was a decent salary for a recruiter, to what's the average? Well, for 100 now, 150, 160. I don't know how much recruiters did to involve their skills, but kudos to you all. But, buying a house in the worst housing market we've ever seen. And I was working for T-Mobile. Half the recruiting team was let go. It was a new job, by the way. So I was convinced I was going to get let go. And then all my positions were completely removed. And so, what I did was I just simply went to nurturing and engagement. It looked a lot different back then. I've told the story before where we had a referral bonus. It was $500. You can refer somebody that gets hired, right? And I was working in the call center, right? So it's a high volume position. So $500 for a call center representative, that's a lot of money, right? So being that we weren't hiring, I really wanted to utilize employee referrals. And I said, I'm just going to keep hiring regardless. I couldn't onboard people, but I get people to get ready. And I was just trying to stay busy. That was my goal, to stay busy, right? Show up every day, 9 hours a day, just find something to do. I pick up the phone if you have to. Pick up the phone, customer service call, not pick up the phone call candidate. And I went out when that employee referral bonus went away. I went out and bought a big thing of Halloween candy, right? And, with the little money I had, and I put candy on my desk and I said, if you bring me someone's name and a phone number, I will call and interview that person. You get a piece of candy. And I slowly started interviewing people. I stored all the information in what's now called Oracle, was Verb back then, if you guys remember, prior to Taleo. And by the time everything turned back on, I had 120 engaged candidates, and 100% of them showed up on their first day. And so that's all I did was nurture and engage, nurture and engage. And yes, it was fearful. Yes, it was uncertain, but I think it's important to stay active. And I think it's important to launch your skill set. Amy, we launched Outbound Recruiting Academy, with the simple question someone asked me, what do recruiters do when they're not hiring? So they level up. And so, that was born with the idea of you and I wanting to give something back to the recruiters to allow them to further increase their knowledge. And Steve, we've seen this shift coming where sourcers aren't being required to do the same work they've seen before. And that's hard, how do you take someone who has mastered their skill set, Steve, mastered their craft? They've been in that basement, counting out lists of qualified applicants left and right. And now they're saying, you know what? Technology can do that for you. I need you to engage those candidates. It's a change.
And I think that's a good leveraging point with respect to what technology, what is the perception of what technology can and cannot do there's this massive chasm between, as you say, Instagram and reality.
Yes.
It's not lost on me that the heads of finance are screaming for, I need to know cost per hire. You need to reduce cost per hire. They're latching onto that as a metric of TA effectiveness. not understanding where I'm going. It's a metric that doesn't make sense because your recruiting mix is always changing. And so, but they're using something that they believe is valid and something they believe is going to make a difference. Same thing with AI now. Chat GPT, generative pre-transformative, I forget the last part. It's exceptionally narrow. Even GPT-4 and subsequent versions, whether it's Bard or whether it's a few others are escape me at the moment, they're narrow, and the data sets that they're using are public data sets. Ask ChatGPT to write me an email. I hope you are well. Why? Because that's what's out there in volume. The problem with that is the CFOs don't see that. They just see that, okay, I'm looking at G&A, general administrative costs, salary, and if I reduce this by a little bit, I can hire more salespeople, do more selling. So there are a couple of dynamics here that we have to work on. It's no longer going to be enough just to be an order taker, a process follower as a recruiter or a sourcer. This goes down to a term that I don't think Vlas Talika was the first one to use it, but he was one of the early ones. You have to become a talent advisor.
Yeah.
A talent advisor is a different mindset. A talent advisor is a person who says, for example, no, that approach is not the one we need to take because it's going to do this. Mm-hmm. And you need to really focus more on collecting the data to back it up. The message that Jeremy was talking about. The message that previous webinars that I've done for hireEZ about recruiting metrics. You have to be more knowledgeable. You can't just sit back and go, well, I've got these 3 certifications. I know what I'm doing. I'm done learning.
Absolutely.
That's the big inflection point about ChatGPT. It's don't take technology as gospel. Technology is something for you to educate yourself upon, look at it, talk to the people who have been around it, who've been around all these different paradigm shifts, and ask us, how did we adapt and adopt for each of these changing phases? And all it is, it's just another opportunity to look inward.
Yes.
And focus on the things that you can control, improve those things. And the things that you can't control, aspire to influence.
Yes. And I want to encourage everyone to ask questions during this. There was a question that came out, do we think AI is going to replace recruiters and sourcers? And let me answer this strategically. I do not think AI is going to replace a human, but I do think it will replace a lot of the core areas that we've been specializing in. 100%. And so to piggyback what Steve just said, it is about us adapting and evolving and using AI to our advantage and really arming ourselves with the latest and greatest technology. I talk to heads of TA all the time. When this economy bounces back, what's your plan? You slay off half your staff, what's your plan? A lot of them say RPO. Some people say rebuild. Some people say I'm going to replace them with technology. And what they mean by that is technology won't necessarily replace somebody, but can technology make them better? Can they make them more efficient? And so I don't think we need to be worried about a machine placing our job. And I don't think we need to look for other jobs, but let's learn and understand what technology is automating, and let's focus in other areas that this conference highlighted for a strategic region where we can add more value to our profession.
Here's a good example for that. I'm pretty good doing research. I've been doing this for sourcing right from the beginning of the digital age, 25 years ago.
He's like a 25-year-old girl that's about to go on a date. He's that good at research.
It's pretty good. I will find a swipe left, swipe right. I'll know both of them. Anyway, but it's for basic stuff. First, The technology is not going, it's like my 24-year-old. I adore her. She's sweet. I'm girl dad. Does a search on Google. His third one down, that's the right answer. That's what I want to hear. No, it's not the right answer. It's not the one, it's the one that makes most sense to you, but it's not necessarily the right answer. You need to be, you need to be an educated consumer, ultimately. I can ask ChatGPT to write me, bioinformatic engineer, I think was an example. I think the one that what Jim was talking about, Schneider was talking about. If you don't know what it's like, if you're not a savant like I am, and you just for some reason know what it's about, you can get some basic bones from ChatGPT. But if you don't then ask yourself, I wonder if that's correct. Let me do a little bit of research, add a couple of footnotes to it. That's on you if you make a mistake. It's the platform, the AI will reproduce what it is you ask. Mm-hmm. Just don't take it as the gospel.
Yeah.
Keep digging down, go down. We talk about in sources about going down rabbit holes. Revel in the joy of rabbit holes and finding information. Do that. Educate yourself. You will find that AI will make many mistakes. And if you don't find them, that's on you.
Yes, they make a lot of mistakes, especially with sentence structure. But there's another question about TA leaders. What is our thought on them going through a transformation to get ready for AI? And I applaud that. And here's why. I think teams should be restructured around technology, right? And I restructure my team, and there's 3 of them here that can attest to that often, right? So we can focus on and prioritize on different tasks, right? Sometimes it makes sense for one person to be on this team and someone else to be on that team, right? It happens a lot, Amy has been a chameleon with hireEZ. I say I work every job in the industry. Amy's worked every job within this company. But to get back to the point, I think that's the right approach. And I don't really know who's doing that, but I think they're thinking ahead, because I would certainly do that now. I'd see like, okay, what can create a better experience for my team and my recruiters? That's a TA leader you want to work for. Someone who cares about your experience, right? Should I have them be something, so I have this team concentrate on doing something that we can quickly automate and trust AI and understand AI? Or can I leverage other skills that they are good at to another area within our team? And I think if the motivation is one, because I'm trying to make you better at your job, I'm trying to give you a better experience at work, I'm trying to do, of course, less with more approach, I think that's the right mindset. Now, I think if teams are restructuring and saying, no, I'm just going to have automation do this and this and this and this and this and this and this, then I think that's a little bit more of a gamble. But I again, this is why, maybe if your team was 100 and you're going to restructure so much where it might look 10, 20% smaller. I think that's reality of the lack of productivity I think we've seen, with some organizations. It didn't look good to have some recruiters go on popular media sites and say they never hired and they didn't work and stuff like that. That was a bad look for our industry, right? Not to say that recruiters don't do that, but I think now it's, when you're going to be on the team, you're going to be a rock star and you're going to be driving those metrics. I think that's going to be important. So, we've said it before, good technology kind of weeds out the ugly. I said this 2 days ago, if you act like a robot, you will get replaced by one. That's the only fear I think we should have. If you're, again, just going through the motions with silent quitting, but otherwise, if you're a rock star and you're killing it and you're willing to shift your focus, then you're going to be just fine. And you're going to be under a leader that set you up for success.
Yeah, well, 2 points. Fear. If fear is your guiding light, you will make mistakes. You will fail to act. And it's not the technology is going to replace you, but your performance is going to replace you. The interesting thing about technology and AI, and this is Raul's question about, you know, AI restructuring. And this, I'll take AI and put any, you know, any generic technology-based restructuring. If processes aren't optimized towards the strategy, the whys, before you put in technology, new technology, you're essentially just automating stupidity. And that's where we've seen many ATS implementations, Shannon, you and I, where they brought something in, they kept the processes the same way, and trying to jam that square peg into the round hole, come heck or high water, because gosh darn it, we made the investment, it's going to work.
Yes.
It doesn't work. And, you know, with every new technology, particularly with AI, you look at your process, you look at every process you have, you catalog them all, you re-engineer them, you get rid of the ones that have minimal value. You have to ask the question, there may be somebody who's been doing this a long time and they're great employees, but this part of the process, it's going to go away. And continuous optimization, we have in software engineering, you know, continuous integration, continuous deployment, continuous improvement. It's the same thing we need to embrace here in TA. And it just means we're also continuously learning. And that is the hard part for many people to embrace. Where do I have time to learn all this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a great answer. I know how much I sleep at night. But that's my choice. And, you know, there will always be places for innovators. You know, there'll always be place for people who, look, I can only give this much. And to your point, it's up to the leadership to be able to balance it out. You don't want the same people on your team. You don't want automatons. Because quite frankly, everyone's point of view is important. And it's up to the leader to ask. It's up for the person to speak. And so we're going into I think, despite the fact that it's a really AI-laden era, it's also a substantially more humanity-based era. You've heard me say this now for 15, 20 years, Shannon. Tools don't recruit, people do. And you know, we saw Jim. You remember when we saw the preview of Jim's picture? I said, "When did Jim get Botox?" And I knew,
it wasn't Jim.
and I knew there was something funny with it. I just wasn't thinking AI.
Yeah, neither was I. But then you did say that.
But as soon as he played it again, I go, I saw the corner of his mouth. I said, I know what's going on.
So here. AI made Jim better good looking, is what you're saying.
I was thinking a hot little number, but I'm not going to go there. I just did. Oh, sorry. No, but we have to be. It's our responsibility. It's a blessing and it's a burden and a responsibility.
Yeah.
To be moving into a new era of technology, and you know how we respond to it, how we react to it. It's very easy to respond to it with fear because you don't understand it. If you don't understand it, it means you haven't studied it.
And that's, you know, that's the community that we were looking to build here. You know, it is, I want people to be comfortable to push each other, comfortable to share experiences, comfortable to vent one another, comfortable to talk about the technology changes, comfortable enough to learn from one another. You know, that is the ultimate community that Steve and I, you know, want to be a part of. And again, I don't think if we went through the crazy 2008 and 9 time period, I would be where I am here today. Because through self-learning education, I you know, if you want to know my story, I'll tell it in 3 seconds or maybe 2 minutes, but I hung on to every single article that was printed in ERE and Career Crossroads. You pull up my LinkedIn page, guess where my last 2 employers were? Erie, and Career Crossroads. First time I connected with Steve, gave me, actually, no, you did not email me. You gave me a call out of the blue, and I said, "How do you know my number?" And he goes, I have so much to teach you, young one. And so, but it was just, I mean, I just was a sponge then, because I had to be, because I knew I had to change, you know, and again, it's the fear that drove me. And then I had learned so much, and I realized that I had so much to share, that that's when I started writing for SourceCon, and I started training for heirs, and I started, you know, speaking at events and conferences and stuff like that, which led me to run SourceCon, which led me to run the community with Chris and Jerry at Career Crossroads, and leads me where I am today. And so it was really that fear that pushed me out of that comfort zone. And it was the time well spent, instead of sitting there being like, oh, well, I'm just going to, you know, dig my grave. You know, I decided to educate myself. And, you know, again, this is why we created the Outbound Recruiting Academy. You know, we want recruiters to do the same thing. And when you're learning something, share something. So I think everyone on this call today, every single one who has attended this, has something unique about them and something to share. And so just because you think you're doing it like everyone else is doing it, you're not. You are unique, and you are different, and you have a voice. And I want to challenge everyone here to find that platform to share your story. You know, I have so many people that told me, oh, I don't do anything different. I just do the same thing everyone else does. Why don't you get up there on stage at the next conference and share what you're doing? And then we'll be the judge of that. Person goes up there and stage, name them, Steve, we know them all, right? Holly Mallows, Maisha Cannon, right? The list goes on and on and on and on. Tangi Pettis, I remember she has said the exact same thing, right? She led SourceCon. They get up there and speak, and all of a sudden everyone is like, jaws drop, clinging on to every little thing they say. And guess what? The speaker thought they weren't doing anything different, but everyone in the audience like loved the way they presented the information. Trust me, you guys are all doing something unique. You don't have to be doing something weird, different, cool, groundbreaking, but get out there and share. That's the best advice I can give you during this time.
And you know, I don't know, I knowing you, Shannon, I'm sure this is in the works. You know, a member blog for hireEZ. And this is where, you know, I'll offer my services. If there's a story you want to tell, if there's something you want to talk about, but you're not really sure where to start, I'll help you. I've done it with a few people through the years, and and even getting to the point where getting on stage, whatever it takes for you to get out of your comfort zone. These are the inflection points of your career, where how you respond to it, you know, will set it up. And it's okay to be afraid of it. We've all been through it. I had full head of hair once, and no, I had nothing to do with it. But you know, I do want to, one before I shut up. Laura said, you know, I strongly believe in re-engineering processes and adaptation. Oh yeah, let that, you know, Shannon and I are both swammers, and that's the old swimmer stretch.
So I was so nervous before a SourceCon presentation.
Everyone, no.
10 years ago.
No. Here's the deal. Shannon is a raging lunatic before she goes on stage.
No comment.
No comment. And so, you know, it was up to you know, usually me or Dean to kind of calm her down. Actually, all of us, Dean, Mark, all of us kind of.
Is that the face of a raging lunatic? I think not. No,
but it was the 4 o'clock in the morning before I got you your tea. I stand.
But this is Steve's face right before I take the stage. So you tell me who the lunatic is.
But Raul said, you know, very important. Based on experience, I also believe in reallocating talent, people, and new functions. Avoid losing talent as much as possible.
Oh,
I can't tell you
that's
how.
A leader right there.
I can't tell you. I have yelled, and I've written about it. I have written about it on the Blue Devils, gotten a lot of eyeballs on it, admonishing CEOs and heads of HR for letting this institutional knowledge go. There are so many more things in addition to just recruiting that people in TA can do. You can do product development. You're good at researching that stuff and finding out things. Sales development. You're much better than most sales development teams, I got to tell you, at sourcing things. You can even work in, project, in engineering, in finance, anything in systems. You just don't know it yet. Take your blinders off. This is an incredible profession to set yourself up to maybe even run marketing at a company. You just
hire anyone.
Don't know that.
Steve, I think we're out of time.
We're out of time, but we're here for you.
We're here. We're gonna have this be a reoccurring session, and this was just our first one, but we're hoping that you can bring us problems, solutions, like, hey, I'm trying to reach out to this candidate, can't get them to respond, right? Hey, I'm stuck on this search. Oh, I have this hiring manager that yells at me every time I send them a candidate. That's what we're going to be here for.